Hello, brothers and sisters. Raven here. Today we finally get to finish off the Devil's Dictionary. We're going on to the last word that Ozzy put in here, and that's the word wisdom. This is one that I was almost thinking I would skip. Because, like others I've gone through, see a lot of the same thing we always see. And this is one that isn't at first so central to theology or your view, your religion. And this is something that varies a little bit more in our world as to how different people view it. However, looking at it, I saw there's something in here that I have to show. Because this is how they're going to be able to brainwash. This is how they are able to keep people from having wisdom by making them think they're having it by not having it. First of all, if you look at these definitions in general, the first two under corrupt, once again, is a spitting image of homestead heritage and what it does. It's what I've been showing. My whole time on this channel, I've shown how they do these first two. And they call these corrupt definitions. Very true. What they do is very corrupt. The biblical definitions sound better, but as almost every time, these aren't definitions of wisdom. These are things related to wisdom, or that could be an aspect of wisdom, a characteristic of it, but never a definition. Except for a couple things. There's two things in here that are connected, and that's under corrupt, definition number 3, and under biblical, definition number 2. That's what I want to look at. 3 says, killing immediacy and all timely response to God's word, claiming to preserve unity or give sufficient consideration before walking in the light. So apparently the problem is that in this, it's not pushing people to act quickly. The problem is that it's giving consideration to things. Isn't that what wisdom's all about? Well, watch the way they try to justify this. Because in number 2, they show the opposite side of this. They say the biblical definition is recognizing urgent need against the backdrop of limited time and grace, moving decisively to make the most of every opportunity. Limited time and grace. Is the grace also limited? Because I don't think so. I don't think God's grace is limited in the least. But let's set that aside. What this is about is, again, this idea of rush, 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 rush. Move, 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 move. Recognizing urgent need. You need to move fast. Don't think. Act. Don't use your head. Don't stop and consider it. Do what we tell you. That's what this is going to push. That's why they teach it this way. But what's so clever is what they do with the passages. Of these 3, the later 2, the one in Ephesians and in Colossians, they have the word time in there. Nothing about rush, nothing about move quickly, nothing of that. Just time. Of course, they are going to take it as though it means you need to move fast because you have a limited time. They're trying to rush you. However, if you read the passage and you really look at what it's saying about time, context of it, why it's using it here, what it's trying to tell you is not to rush. What it's telling you is that wisdom does not waste time. Not that it uses it quickly. Not that it skips thinking and just acts. No, it's that it doesn't waste it. And I want to look at the first passage to show a bit of how they do this. Now, Matthew 25:2 is what he gives. Here's the problem. It does nothing to show you what he wants you to see as being in this rush. Because all 25:2 says is now 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. That doesn't tell you anything about what you're talking about in this definition. It just tells you there were some wise and some foolish. Okay, but that doesn't help define it. So why only that verse? I'm going to show you some of the context. Now, I'm not going to show the whole context because to do that would be giving you the whole of this parable that's in this passage. This is Jesus telling the parable of the 10 virgins taking their lamps. Let's look at the first 5 verses of it. They say, "Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept." You'll notice the part of this that has anything to do with time is that last verse. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. Now, the reason he didn't give this verse was because of that last part. They all slumbered and slept. It showed they had time. They had extra time to do something. And it showed exactly what all the passages are talking about. They wasted it. But not all 10 of them. Only 5 of them that weren't wise. All 10 slumbered and slept, even the wise ones. Why? Because they'd already done what needed to be done. This is what they don't want you to see. They don't want their congregation to know, oh, well, if they slumbered and slept, they had time. The only difference was the time they had when they were back where they started, they didn't waste. You know what this is all about? Let's go back to that first part, the corrupt definitions. Look at the first one again. Experience in stitching together fragments of Scripture to justify unbiblical themes. Stitching together fragments of Scripture to justify unbiblical themes. He starts this off with that statement and then practices this very thing in these definitions. That's what they are doing. They are taking fragments. They are taking pieces of Scripture, and they want you to be in a rush, in a hurry, so that you don't have time to read any more than what they give you, and you have to just take what they tell you, so that you never have a chance to apply any wisdom. Here's a definition given in the dictionary for wisdom. Having the power of discerning and judging properly as to what is true or right. They don't want you to be able to decide what is true and right. They don't want you to be able to see what is true, what is false. They want you to assume what they tell you is true. What they tell you is right. To them, wisdom is not what you are able to figure out, what you are able to understand, what you are aware of. To them, they want everybody else to be wise by following their wisdom. That's why Ozzy defines it this way. That's what makes this definition dangerous, even if wisdom may not be a central teaching. Because it's going to keep you from looking at the central teachings yourself, looking at Scripture yourself. because you're in too much of a rush and too trusting of their teachings. That's what this entire dictionary is about. Is telling you how to view it, how to take it, to believe. That's the danger of the cult homestead heritage. I'll see you guys next time. God bless.